Don't get on that train! Cole's voice cut through the steam like a knife, his hand catching Layla's wrist before she could step up into the car. She spun around, eyes wide with shock, and something that looked dangerously like hope. 7 years. 7 goddamn years since he'd let her walk away without a fight, and now here she was again, same suitcase, same determined jaw, same heartbreak written across her face. "I won't let you go again." He said the words tearing out of him raw and desperate. She pulled against his grip, tears already streaming. "You don't get to say that now, Cole. You had your chance." "Then I'm taking another one." Before we continue, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel and follow this story to the very end. Please comment below with the city you're watching from, so I can see how far this story has traveled. Now let's dive into Cole and Layla's journey. Cole Maverick hadn't planned on being at the Red Hollow train station that afternoon. He'd come into town for supplies, nothing more. A sack of grain, some nails, maybe a new rope, if the general store had one that didn't look like it had been sitting there since before the war. But then he'd heard it, that low, mournful whistle cutting through the wind, and something in his gut told him to walk toward the platform instead of away from it. He told himself it was stupid. Layla was gone. Had been gone for 7 years. Married some banker in St. Louis. Or so he'd heard through the gossip that drifted through town like tumbleweeds. She wasn't coming back. Women like her didn't come back to places like Red Hollow. But his boots kept moving anyway, carrying him past the feed store, past the saloon where he'd spent too many nights trying to drown the memory of her, past the church where he'd almost told her he loved her before she left. The platform was nearly empty. Just old Mrs. Henderson waiting for her daughter and a traveling salesman with a case full of God knows what. Cole stood back near the water barrel, telling himself he'd just watch the train come in and then leave. That's all. Just watch. The train pulled up with a screech of brakes and a hiss of steam. Doors opened. A few passengers stepped off, folks he didn't recognize, probably just passing through on their way to somewhere that mattered. And then she appeared. Layla Bennett stepped down from the third car, one hand holding her hat against the wind, the other gripping a worn leather suitcase. She wore a dark blue traveling dress that he'd never seen before, but her face was exactly as he remembered it. Same strong jaw. Same eyes that could cut through a man's excuses like a knife through butter. Cole's throat went dry. She hadn't seen him yet. She was looking around the platform, searching for something or someone. Her brow furrowed slightly, and he recognized that expression, the one she got when things weren't going according to plan. He should walk away, should turn around and pretend he'd never seen her. But his feet stayed planted, and before he could talk himself out of it, he heard his own voice cut through the noise of the train. "Layla." She turned. Their eyes met. And for a moment, just a moment, the whole world stopped moving. Her face went pale. "Cole." He stepped forward, hat in his hands now, though he didn't remember taking it off. "Didn't expect to see you here." "I didn't expect to be here." Her voice was steady, but he caught the slight tremor underneath. She set her suitcase down. "I'm just passing through. Train stops here for 20 minutes before heading west." "West to where?" "California, San Francisco." "San Francisco." He repeated it like it was a foreign word. "That's a long way from St. Louis." Her expression shifted. Something flickered across her face that he couldn't quite read. "I'm not in St. Louis anymore." "I heard you got married. To a banker." "You heard wrong." She picked up her suitcase again like she was already thinking about getting back on that train. "Or maybe you heard right, but things change." "What changed?" She looked at him for a long moment. "Does it matter?" "Yeah, it matters." Layla's jaw tightened. "I'm not doing this, Cole. I didn't come back here to dig up old graves." "You didn't come back here at all. You said it yourself, you're just passing through." "Exactly." She turned toward the train. "So, let's just leave it at that." But Cole stepped in front of her, blocking her path. Not aggressive, just there. Present in a way he hadn't been 7 years ago when she needed him to be. What if I don't want to leave it at that? Then that's your problem, not mine. Her voice was sharp now, defensive. I have a train to catch in 15 minutes. 15 minutes is longer than we ever had before. She stared at him. We had 2 years, Cole. 2 years of you looking at me like I was something you wanted, but were too scared to actually reach for. And when I finally got tired of waiting, you let me walk onto that train without saying a single word. The truth of it hit him like a punch to the gut. I know. You know. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Well, I'm glad you know. That makes everything so much better. I was an idiot. Yes, you were. And a coward. That too. Cole ran a hand through his hair. I don't have an excuse, Layla. I was 23 years old and scared out of my mind that if I told you how I felt, you'd laugh in my face or tell me I wasn't good enough. Your father made it pretty damn clear I wasn't good enough. My father was a drunk who died owing money to half the territory. Since when did you care what he thought? Since the woman I loved was his daughter. The words hung in the air between them. Layla's eyes went wide, and for a second she looked exactly like the girl he remembered, the one who used to meet him by the river when her father thought she was at church, the one who'd kiss him under the cottonwood trees and tell him about all the places she wanted to see. Don't. Her voice cracked. Don't you dare say that now. Not after all this time. Why not? It's the truth. The truth. She shook her head. The truth is, you had your chance. Cole Maverick, and you threw it away because you were too proud or too stubborn, or too, whatever the hell you want to call it, to fight for me. You're right. That stopped her. She'd been winding up for a real fight. He could tell, the kind they used to have, where she'd get all fired up, and he'd just stand there taking it because he deserved it. But his agreement knocked the wind out of her sails. What? You're right. I should have fought for you. Should have gotten down on my knees and begged you to stay. Should have told your father to go to hell and asked you to marry me right there on the platform. He took a step closer. But I didn't. And I've regretted it every single day since. Layla's hand tightened on her suitcase handle. Well, regret doesn't change anything, does it? It doesn't bring back the time we lost. Doesn't fix what's broken. Maybe not. But it's honest. Honesty's a little late, don't you think? Probably, but it's all I've got. The train whistle blew 10 minutes to departure. Layla flinched at the sound. I have to go, she said, but she didn't move. Where's your husband? I don't have a husband. Had one for about 8 months. Turned out he was better at managing money than managing a marriage. She said it matter-of-factly, like she was talking about the weather. He's back in St. Louis with his mistress and his ledgers. I'm going to San Francisco to start over. Start over doing what? I don't know yet. Something that doesn't involve depending on men who can't figure out what they want. The jab landed, and Cole accepted it. Fair enough. Is it? Layla's eyes searched his face. Because you're standing here acting like you've got something to say, but I remember this dance, Cole. I remember waiting for you to say the thing that needed saying, and you never did. So forgive me if I'm not particularly interested in waiting around again. I'm not asking you to wait around. Then what are you asking? Cole took a breath. This was it, the moment he'd replayed in his head 1,000 times, imagining what he'd say, if he ever got another chance. But now that the chance was here, all his rehearsed words felt hollow and useless. I don't know, he admitted. I just know that the last time you got on a train, I let you go without a fight, and it's been eating me alive ever since. And I'll be damned if I make that mistake twice. So what, you're going to fight for me now after 7 years? She shook her head. You don't even know me anymore, Cole. I'm not the same girl who left. I'm not the same man who let you leave. Aren't you? She gestured around the empty platform. Because it looks to me like you're still right here in Red Hollow doing the same things, living the same life. What's changed? I have. How? I grew up. Figured out that pride's a poor substitute for the things that actually matter. Learned that being afraid of getting hurt is a damn sight worse than actually getting hurt. He met her eyes. And I realized that loving someone isn't about timing or perfect circumstances. It's about choosing them even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Layla's expression softened slightly. That's a nice speech. It's not a speech. It's just the truth I should have told you 7 years ago. She was quiet for a moment, and Cole could see her working through it all, the past, the present, the impossible question of what comes next. The wind picked up, tugging at her skirt, and she reached up to secure her hat. You know what the worst part was, she said finally. It wasn't that you didn't fight for me. It was that you didn't even try. You just stood there. And I kept thinking, maybe if I wait another minute, maybe if I give him one more chance, he'll say something. But you didn't. And then the train pulled away, and I knew that I'd spent 2 years loving a man who didn't love me back the same way. But I did. I do. Then why? Her voice broke. Why wasn't it enough? Why wasn't I enough? You were enough. You were everything. I was the one who wasn't enough, and I was too scared to admit it. Scared of what? Of you realizing it too. Layla closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were bright with unshed tears. You're an idiot, Cole Maverick. I know. A complete and total idiot. I know that too. I should get on that train and never look back. Probably. So why am I still standing here? Cole stepped closer, close enough that he could smell the faint scent of lavender that always clung to her. Maybe because part of you knows that some mistakes are worth fixing, that some chances are worth taking even if they're 7 years late. Or maybe I'm just as big an idiot as you are. Could be both. She almost smiled at that. Almost. But then the train whistle blew again. 5 minutes, and reality came crashing back. I can't miss this train, she said. I sold everything I had to buy that ticket. I don't have anywhere else to go. You could stay here. And do what? Wait around while you figure out whether you're brave enough to actually be with me this time. She shook her head. I've already lived that story, Cole. I don't need a sequel. What if it's not a sequel? What if it's something new? There's nothing new here, just the same old town, the same old memories, the same old you. Then let me prove you wrong. How? Cole didn't have an answer. Not a good one, anyway. The train was going to leave in 5 minutes, and he couldn't offer her anything except promises and maybes and the word of a man who'd already let her down once. But then something shifted in him, something fundamental and irreversible. He'd spent 7 years wondering what would have happened if he'd been braver, if he'd said the things he needed to say. And he'd be damned if he spent the rest of his life wondering the same thing about this moment. Come with me, he said suddenly. Layla blinked. What? Just for today. Don't get on the train. Come with me and let me show you that I'm not the same man I was. Cole. One day, Layla, that's all I'm asking. And if by tomorrow you still want to go to San Francisco, I'll buy you a new ticket myself and drive you to the station in my wagon. That's insane. Yeah, it is. I don't even know why I'm considering this. Because you're curious. Because part of you wants to know if things could be different. He held out his hand. Because you're still standing here talking to me instead of getting on that train. Layla looked at his hand. Looked at the train. Looked at him. The conductor called out, "All aboard, last call for westbound." She picked up her suitcase. Cole's heart sank. But instead of walking toward the train, she walked toward him. One day, she said firmly. That's all you get. And if you waste it, Cole Maverick, I swear I'll haunt you for the rest of your natural life. He took her suitcase from her hand. Deal. The train pulled away from the station, heading west without her. They stood there watching it go, and for the first time in 7 years, Cole felt like maybe, just maybe, he was finally doing something right. So, what now? Layla asked. Now I take you to the place where we used to go. The river. The river's probably dried up by now. Only one way to find out. They walked to where his horse was tied up, and Cole helped her into the saddle before swinging up behind her. It felt familiar and strange all at once, her body fitting against his like no time had passed. But everything between them weighted with years and mistakes and things left unsaid. The ride to the river took 20 minutes. Neither of them spoke much, but the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of quiet that comes when two people are trying to figure out what words can possibly bridge the gap between where they were and where they are now. The river hadn't dried up. It was lower than Cole remembered, and the cottonwood trees along the bank were bigger, but the spot was still there, their spot where they used to meet when the world felt too small and their lives felt too complicated. Cole helped Layla down from the horse and set her suitcase against a tree. She stood at the water's edge, arms crossed, looking out at the current. "I used to dream about this place," she said quietly. "When things got bad in St. Louis, when my husband was gone for days at a time, and I knew he was with her, I'd close my eyes and picture this river. Picture you and me sitting right there on that rock, talking about nothing and everything. What made you marry him? Desperation, loneliness, the stupid belief that maybe if I married someone safe and respectable, I could forget about the cowboy who broke my heart." She turned to face him. "Didn't work out so well." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It taught me something important." "What's that?" "That running away from your problems doesn't solve them. It just gives them more room to grow." Cole sat down on the rock she'd mentioned. "I did the same thing. Stayed here in Red Hollow, convinced myself I was too busy with the ranch to think about you. Worked myself half to death trying to fill up the space where you used to be." He looked up at her. "But every time I came to town, I'd find myself walking past the train station, hoping I'd see you step off one of those cars." "And now I did." "And now you did." Layla sat down beside him, careful to leave a bit of space between them. "This is crazy, you know. Me being here with you, missing that train." "You always did like a little crazy." "Maybe I did. Back when I was young and stupid and didn't know any better. And now? Now I'm older and supposedly wiser, but apparently still stupid enough to give you one day to convince me that you've changed." Cole turned to face her. "What if I don't try to convince you at all?" "What do you mean?" "What if I just let you see it? Let you spend the day with me, no fancy words or promises, just real, honest. Whatever happens, happens." Layla studied him. "You're really different, aren't you?" "I'd like to think so. The Cole I knew would have been trying to charm his way back into my good graces by now. Making jokes, deflecting anything to avoid having a real conversation. The Cole you knew was terrified of real conversations. Figured if I kept things light, I wouldn't have to deal with anything that actually mattered. And now I'm more terrified of losing you again than I am of saying the wrong thing." Something in her expression shifted, softened around the edges. "You know what I hated most. It wasn't that you let me go. It was that you made me feel like I was crazy for thinking there was something between us. Like I'd imagined the whole thing. There was something between us. There is something between us. Is there? Or is this just nostalgia and regret talking? Only one way to find out." They sat there as the sun started its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. The river burbled past, indifferent to their drama, and somewhere in the distance, a hawk cried out. Layla reached down and picked up a flat stone, examining it in the fading light. "Remember when you taught me to skip rocks? You were terrible at it." "I was not terrible. I just needed practice. You hit yourself in the foot with one." "That was one time." But she was smiling now, really smiling, and Cole felt something loosen in his chest. "Try it now," he said. "See if you've gotten any better." She stood up, tested the weight of the stone in her hand, then threw it. It skipped once, twice, 3 times before sinking. "Not bad," Cole said. Not bad. That was excellent. If you say so. She picked up another stone and threw it. This one skipped 5 times. Ha, beat that. Cole found his own stone and threw it. 6 skips. Show off, Layla muttered, but she was laughing. They spent the next hour like that, skipping rocks, trading insults that didn't quite hide the affection underneath, slowly finding their way back to the easy rhythm they'd once shared. And with each stone that hit the water, each laugh that broke through the tension, Cole felt the years between them start to matter a little less. Finally, as the light began to fail, Layla sat back down on the rock and wrapped her arms around herself against the evening chill. "Getting cold?" Cole asked. "A little." He shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She didn't protest, just pulled it tighter and looked out at the water. "I forgot how quiet it gets out here," she said. "In St. Louis, there was always noise. Carriages, people, construction. Never a moment of real silence." "Is that why you're going to San Francisco, for the quiet?" "No, San Francisco's probably louder than St. Louis ever was." She paused. "I'm going because I need to prove to myself that I can start over, that I'm not just the girl who made bad choices and trusted the wrong people. You didn't make bad choices. You made brave choices. You left Red Hollow when you knew there was nothing here for you. There was you. I wasn't enough, not then. And now," Cole turned to face her fully, "now I'm not going to insult you by pretending one day at the river can make up for 7 years of regret. But I am going to tell you that if you give me a real chance, not just today, but tomorrow, and the day after that, I'll spend every single one of them proving that you matter to me, that you've always mattered." Layla's breath caught. "Cole? I know it's a lot to ask. I know you've got a ticket to San Francisco and a whole new life waiting out there. But before you go, I need you to know I loved you. Then I love you now, and I'll probably love you for the rest of my miserable life, whether you're here or halfway across the country." A single tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly, like she was angry at herself for showing that much emotion. "You can't just say things like that." "Why not?" "Because it makes it harder to leave." "Good." She laughed, a wet, broken sound. "You're impossible. And you're still here. For now." Cole reached out and took her hand. She didn't pull away. They sat there as darkness crept across the water hands, intertwined, both afraid to break whatever fragile thing was building between them. Finally, Layla spoke. "I need to tell you something." Cole's grip tightened slightly. "All right." "When I left 7 years ago, I didn't just leave because you wouldn't fight for me. I left because I was pregnant." The world tilted. Cole's hand went slack in hers. "What?" "I was 2 months along when I got on that train. I found out a week before, and I kept waiting for you to give me a reason to stay, any reason. But you didn't, so I left." "Jesus Christ, Layla." He stood up, hands in his hair. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I needed you to want me, not obligation. I needed you to choose me because you loved me, not because you'd gotten me in trouble." "What happened to the baby?" Her face crumpled. "I lost it. 3 months later in St. Louis. I was alone in a boarding house and I started bleeding, and by the time the doctor came, it was too late." Cole felt like someone had punched a hole through his chest. "Layla, don't you dare feel sorry for me. I made my choices and I've lived with them. But you shouldn't have had to live with them alone. I didn't have a choice. You weren't there, Cole. You were here in Red Hollow, probably betting some saloon girl and not giving me a second thought." "That's not true. I thought about you every goddamn day." Thinking about someone isn't the same as being there for them. She stood up facing him. "And you know what the worst part was? After I lost the baby, I stayed in St. Louis. Convinced myself I could build a life there. Met Charles at a church social. Decent man, good job, everything my father would have wanted for me. And I married him, thinking maybe I could forget. Maybe I could pretend none of this ever happened. But you couldn't. No. Because every time he touched me, I thought of you. Every time he said he loved me, I heard your silence. And when I finally found him with that woman, his secretary, how goddamn cliché, I almost thanked her for giving me an excuse to leave. Cole closed the distance between them. I'm sorry. I'm so goddamn sorry for all of it. Sorry doesn't bring back what we lost. I know, but it's all I've got to offer. Layla wiped her eyes roughly. I didn't come back here to tell you this. I didn't even plan on seeing you. But now that you know, maybe you'll understand why I can't just stay here and play pretend like the last 7 years didn't happen. I'm not asking you to pretend. I'm asking you to let us try again. For real this time. You don't get it, do you? I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know if I can trust myself around you. She turned away. Take me back to town, please. Layla, I said take me back. The ride into Red Hollow was silent and tense. Layla sat stiff in the saddle, and Cole didn't try to hold her the way he had on the ride out. When they reached the main street, she spoke for the first time. The boarding house. Mrs. Patterson's. You're staying at the boarding house. Where else would I stay? I sold my house in St. Louis. Everything I own is in that suitcase. Cole pulled the horse up in front of Mrs. Patterson's. He helped Layla down, handed her the suitcase, and just stood there like an idiot trying to find words that wouldn't make everything worse. Thank you for the ride, Layla said formally like they were strangers. That's it. That's all you're going to say. What else is there to say, Cole? You wanted your day and you got it. You got to hear the whole ugly truth about what happened after I left. Now we both know. But we didn't. He grabbed her hand before she could walk away. Give me tomorrow too, please. Why? So I can tell you more stories about how miserable I was, so you can feel worse about the past. No, so I can show you that the future could be different. There is no future for us. There's just tonight, and then I'll get on the next train out of here. When's the next train? Day after tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Cole's mind raced. 2 days. He had 2 days to prove to her that this them was worth fighting for. 2 days to make up for 7 years of cowardice. Then give me 2 days. After that, if you still want to go, I'll drive you to the station myself. Layla pulled her hand away. I already gave you today, and look how that turned out. You got the truth you wanted, and now we're both bleeding from it. Maybe that's what needed to happen. Maybe we needed to lance the wound before it could heal. Or maybe some wounds don't heal. Maybe they just scar over and hurt less with time. She picked up her suitcase. Good night, Cole. She walked into the boarding house without looking back. Cole stood there in the street feeling like he'd just lost her all over again. But this time he wasn't going to let her disappear without a fight. He spent the night pacing his cabin, replaying every word of their conversation, trying to figure out what he could have said differently. The revelation about the baby sat in his gut like a stone. He could have been a father, could have had a family with the woman he loved. Instead, she'd gone through that hell alone, while he was here feeling sorry for himself. When dawn broke, he made a decision. He rode into town before most folks were awake and went straight to the telegraph office. The operator, a skinny kid named Tommy, looked half asleep when Cole walked in. Need to send a telegram to San Francisco, Cole said. This early. It's urgent. Tommy rubbed his eyes and got out his pad. What's the message? Cole dictated it carefully, addressing it to a man named Marcus Wheeler, an old friend from his army days who'd made good out west and owed Cole a favor or two. Need information on respectable employment for educated woman. Teaching, bookkeeping, anything legitimate. Reply urgent. Tommy scribbled it down. That's it. That's it. How long for a response? Couple hours, maybe. Depends on how fast Wheeler is. I'll wait. Cole spent the next 3 hours drinking bad coffee at the saloon, trying not to think about Layla sleeping under a roof 50 yards away. Finally, Tommy came running in with a telegram. Wheeler's response was brief but promising. Have 3 positions available. Telegraph qualifications, and I'll arrange interviews. What's this about? Cole sent back. Woman needs fresh start. Smart, capable, trustworthy. Will explain later. By noon, he had addresses for 3 potential employers in San Francisco, a finishing school looking for a literature teacher, a law firm needing a bookkeeper, and a women's clinic seeking an administrator. He folded the telegram into his pocket and headed for the boarding house. Mrs. Patterson answered his knock, eyebrows raised. Mr. Maverick, Miss Bennett isn't receiving visitors. I just need 5 minutes. She was quite clear. Please, Mrs. Patterson, 5 minutes, and if she wants me gone after that, I'll go. The old woman studied him, then sighed. Room 3, but I'll be listening, so keep it proper. He climbed the stairs and knocked on room 3. No answer. He knocked again. Go away, Cole. I have something you need to see. I don't need anything from you. It's about San Francisco. A pause. Then the door opened a crack. Layla stood there in a simple cotton dress, her hair down around her shoulders. She looked tired. What about San Francisco? He held out the telegram. Job opportunities. 3 of them. All legitimate. All arranged through a friend of mine who knows people out there. She took the telegram, read it, then looked at him with confusion. Why would you do this? Because you said you needed to start over. And if that's what you need, then I want to help you do it right. Not running blind to a city where you don't know anyone, but going there with options. With a plan. I don't understand. Yesterday you were begging me to stay, and now you're helping me leave. Yesterday I was being selfish. Today I'm trying to do what's best for you, even if it kills me. Layla's eyes filled with tears. Stop it. Stop being this version of you. It makes everything harder. Good. It should be hard. Leaving someone you love should never be easy. Who said I love you? You didn't have to. It's written all over your face every time you look at me. He stepped closer. Same way it's written all over mine. She shook her head, but she was crying now. This is impossible. We're impossible. Maybe. But isn't it worth finding out for sure? Before she could answer, a voice called from downstairs. Layla, you have another visitor. They both turned toward the stairs. A man in an expensive suit stood in the foyer, hat in hand, looking up at them with cold fury in his eyes. Charles? Layla breathed. Her husband had found her. Charles Bennett climbed the stairs with the measured pace of a man who was used to getting what he wanted. Cole sized him up in seconds. Soft hands, expensive clothes, the kind of man who'd never done a day of real work in his life. Layla, Charles said, ignoring Cole entirely. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Our marriage is over. That's not your decision to make. I came all this way to bring you home. St. Louis isn't my home anymore. You're my wife. Your home is wherever I say it is. Cole stepped between them. The lady asked you to leave. Charles finally looked at him, eyes raking over Cole's dusty clothes and work-worn hands. And you are someone who actually listens when she talks. Ah, the cowboy. Charles's lip curled. Layla mentioned you in one of her more emotional moments, the great lost love of her youth. How quaint. Charles, please, Layla said. Just go. There's nothing for you here. There's my wife. That's everything. Ex-wife. As soon as the papers are filed. Papers that you have no legal standing to file. You left me, remember, abandoned our home. Our life together. If anyone files for divorce, it will be me, and I'll make sure you walk away with nothing. Cole's fists clenched. You got about 3 seconds to get out of this building before I throw you out. Charles smiled. Try it, and I'll have the sheriff arrest you for assault. I know people in this territory, cowboy. Important people. You lay one hand on me, and you'll spend the next year in jail. Worth it. Cole, don't. Layla grabbed his arm. He's not worth it. Listen to her, Charles said. She's finally showing some sense. He turned back to Layla. Come home. I've forgiven you for this little escapade. We can put it behind us and move forward. Forgiven me, you were sleeping with your secretary. A momentary lapse in judgment. Nothing more. A momentary lapse that lasted 6 months. And how long have you been carrying a torch for this? He gestured dismissively at Cole. This ranch hand, 7 years 8. At least I had the decency to be discreet. Layla slapped him. The sound echoed through the boarding house like a gunshot. Charles touched his cheek eyes going dark. You'll regret that. I already regret it. I should have hit you harder. Mrs. Patterson, Charles called down the stairs. I'm taking my wife home. If this man tries to interfere, send for the sheriff. I'm not going anywhere with you, Layla said. You don't have a choice. You're legally bound to me, and I'm exercising my rights as your husband. Cole moved forward, but Layla held him back. No, let me handle this. She looked at Charles with ice in her eyes. You want to talk about legal rights, fine. Let's talk about the money you stole from my inheritance. The money my mother left me that you invested without my knowledge or permission. Charles's face went pale. That was a business decision. That was theft, and I have the bank records to prove it. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to go back to St. Louis. You're going to file for divorce on whatever grounds make you look good, and you're going to return every penny you took from me. And if you don't, I'll go to every newspaper in Missouri and tell them exactly what kind of man Charles Bennett really is. You're bluffing. Try me. They stared at each other, and Cole could see the moment Charles realized she meant it. He'd underestimated her, probably always had. Fine, Charles said finally. Have your divorce. Have your money. But you're making a mistake, Layla. When this cowboy gets tired of playing house and you're alone in some godforsaken town, don't come crawling back to me. Wouldn't dream of it. Charles adjusted his hat and looked at Cole. She'll break your heart too, you know. That's what she does. Runs away when things get difficult. Get out, Cole said quietly, before I forget my manners. Charles left footsteps heavy on the stairs. They heard the front door slam, and then silence. Layla sank onto the bed, shaking. I need a drink. I'll get you one. I need several. Cole sat beside her. You were incredible just now. I was terrified. Did you see my hands shaking? No. All I saw was a woman who refused to back down. She laughed, but it was shaky. He's going to make this difficult. He'll drag it out, fight every step of the way. Let him. You've got right on your side. Right doesn't always win. No, but it's got a better chance when you've got someone fighting with you. Layla looked at him. Is that what you're offering, to fight with me? If you'll let me. This could get ugly. Charles has lawyers' connections money. And you've got the truth, and me, and stubbornness enough to outlast all of his lawyers put together. She almost smiled. You really have changed, haven't you? I'm trying to. Why? What made you finally grow up? Losing you the first time, realizing that some mistakes don't get do-overs. He took her hand. But this time, I'm not letting pride or fear or some banker from St. Louis stand in the way. It's not just about fighting Charles. It's about everything else too. The past, the baby we lost, all the years we can't get back. I know. And we'll deal with all of it. Together if you'll have me. Apart if you won't. But either way, I'm not walking away again. Layla squeezed his hand. I don't know if I can do this. Trust you, trust us. Trust that it won't all fall apart again. Then don't trust it yet. Just don't get on that train day after tomorrow. Stay a week, a month, however long you need to figure out whether this is real or not. And if I decide it's not, then I'll let you go, for real this time. He brought her hand to his lips. But I'm betting you won't. You're betting your heart on a woman who already ran away from you once. Best bet I ever made. She pulled her hand away and stood up, walking to the window. I need time to think. About Charles, about San Francisco, about everything. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Promise. Promise. She turned to face him. Then give me tonight. Let me sit with all of this and figure out what I'm actually feeling instead of just reacting. And tomorrow? Tomorrow you can try to convince me again. But tonight I need to be alone. Cole stood up. All right. But I'm staying at the saloon if you need me. Any time, any reason, you send word, and I'll come running. I know you will. That's what scares me. He walked to the door, then stopped. One more thing. What? That baby we lost, I need you to know if I'd known about it, I would have been there. I would have married you the second you told me. Would have done whatever it took to take care of you both. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Don't say things like that. Why not? It's true. Because it makes me wish you had known. It makes me wonder what our lives would have been like if I'd just told you instead of running. We can't change the past, Layla, but we get to write the future. I want to believe that. Then believe it, or at least give me a chance to prove it. He left before she could respond, but as he walked down the stairs, he heard her voice, soft but clear. Cole. He turned. Thank you, for the telegram, for fighting Charles, for not giving up on me. Never. He walked out into the afternoon sun, heart hammering, mind racing. Charles showing up had changed everything and nothing. The complications were bigger now, the stakes higher, but Cole's resolve was unshakable. He'd meant what he said. He wasn't walking away again. Not for anything. The next 24 hours would determine everything. He didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Layla's face when she'd told him about the baby, saw the pain etched into every line of her expression. By the time the sun came up, he'd made a list of everything he needed to do, and standing around wasn't on it. First stop was the general store. Old man Hendricks looked up from his ledger when Cole walked in, eyebrows raising at the sight of him this early. Need supplies, Cole said, and I need them delivered to the boarding house by noon. What kind of supplies? Everything a woman would need to set up a proper home. Linens, dishes, cookware, whatever you've got that's decent quality. Hendricks whistled low. That's gonna cost you. I don't care what it costs, just get it done. This for Miss Bennett. Word traveled fast in small towns. Cole didn't bother denying it. Yeah, it's for her. Heard her husband showed up yesterday, caused quite a scene. Ex-husband. And he's gone. Is he now? Hendricks leaned against the counter. Because I heard him talking to Sheriff Wade last night at the saloon. Something about stolen property and unfit companions. Cole's blood ran cold. What exactly did he say? That his wife was being held against her will by a local ranch hand with violent tendencies. Said he wanted the sheriff to intervene for her safety. That's a damn lie. I know that. You know that. Question is, does Wade know that? Cole swore under his breath. When's Wade coming? Didn't say. But knowing him, probably today sometime. He likes to handle things quick and quiet. Thanks for the warning. Cole threw money on the counter. Get those supplies to the boarding house, and if anyone asks, you don't know anything about it. Don't know anything about what? Cole was halfway out the door when Hendricks called after him. Cole, whatever you're planning, be smart about it. Wade's a by-the-book man, and if Charles Bennett's got paperwork saying she's his wife, there's not much you can do. We'll see about that. He rode hard to the telegraph office. Tommy was just opening up, yawning and fumbling with his keys. Need to send another message, Cole said. To a lawyer in Cheyenne. You know anyone? Tommy scratched his head. My cousin works for a firm there, Dixon and Associates. They handle divorce cases, property disputes, that sort of thing. Perfect. Send this, need immediate legal counsel for divorce case. Wife being harassed by estranged husband claiming marital rights. Urgent response required. Tommy wrote it down. This about Miss Bennett. Does everyone in this town know my business? Pretty much. You're big news, Cole. Rich banker's wife choosing a cowboy over city life, that's the kind of story folks talk about. Just send the telegram. While Tommy tapped out the message, Cole paced the small office, mind racing. If Wade showed up with some legal document from Charles, he could force Layla to go back to St. Louis. Could drag her away before Cole had a chance to prove anything. He needed to move faster, think smarter. The telegraph machine clicked. Tommy read the response and frowned. What? Cole demanded. Says they can't take the case without meeting the client in person. Want to know if she can come to Cheyenne. When? Soon as possible. They've got an opening tomorrow morning. Cole did the math. Cheyenne was a full day's ride, maybe more if the weather turned. They'd have to leave today right now to make it in time. Send back client and companion will be there tomorrow morning. Need meeting at 8 a.m. Companion? Tommy grinned. That you. Just send it. Cole left the telegraph office and headed straight for the boarding house. Mrs. Patterson intercepted him at the door. She's still sleeping. I need to talk to her. It's urgent. Everything's urgent with you young people. But she stepped aside. Make it quick and quiet. He took the stairs 2 at a time and knocked softly on Lila's door. No answer. He knocked again, harder. Lila, it's me. Open up. Rustling from inside, then footsteps. The door opened a crack. Lila stood there in her nightgown, hair mussed from sleep, eyes puffy like she'd been crying. It's barely dawn, she said. We have to leave, now. What are you talking about? Charles went to the sheriff, said you're his wife and I'm holding you against your will. Wade's probably on his way here right now. Lila's face went white. He can't do that. He already did. But I found a lawyer in Cheyenne who'll take your case. We can be there by tomorrow morning if we leave in the next hour. Cole, I can't just... Yes, you can. Pack your things. We're leaving before Wade shows up with some piece of paper that says Charles has legal authority to take you back. But what if running makes it worse? What if it looks like we're guilty of something? We're not guilty of anything except trying to build a life together. And I'll be damned if I let Charles Bennett or anyone else stop that. He grabbed her shoulders gently. Trust me. Please. She searched his face for a long moment, then nodded. Give me 10 minutes. You've got 5. She threw on her clothes while Cole waited in the hall, ears straining for the sound of horses that would signal Wade's arrival. Mrs. Patterson appeared at the bottom of the stairs, arms crossed. What's all this commotion? We're leaving town for a few days, business in Cheyenne. Business or running? Both. The sheriff's going to ask questions. Tell him the truth. We left early this morning for Cheyenne. You don't know why, and you don't know when we're coming back. Mrs. Patterson's expression softened. That girl's been through enough. You better take care of her. I will. And Cole, if you break her heart again, I've got a shotgun with your name on it. Fair enough. Lila emerged with her suitcase. They moved quickly, quietly, slipping out the back door and around to where Cole's horse waited. He helped her up, swung into the saddle behind her, and they rode out of town just as the sun broke over the eastern hills. They didn't talk for the first hour. Lila sat tense in front of him, and Cole could feel her working through everything, the hasty departure, the implications of running the gamble they were taking. Finally, she spoke. What if Charles finds out we went to Cheyenne? He will. These things aren't secret. Then what's the point? The point is, we get there first. We get you legal representation, file the paperwork, establish your case before he can twist the story. Cole tightened his arm around her waist. And we do it together, so there's no question about you being forced or coerced. He's going to say you kidnapped me. Let him. The lawyer will ask you directly if you came willingly. What are you going to say? She was quiet for a moment. The truth. That I chose to come with you. Exactly. They rode in silence again, The landscape rolling past prairie grass, bending in the wind, the occasional stand of cottonwoods marking where water ran underground. It was country Cole had known his whole life, but seeing it with Layla felt different. Felt like coming home and leaving home all at once. Around midday, they stopped to rest the horse and eat the provisions Cole had grabbed from his saddlebag. Layla sat on a fallen log, picking at the dried beef and hardtack like she couldn't quite stomach it. "I keep thinking about what your life would have been like if I'd stayed," she said suddenly. "If I'd told you about the baby and you'd married me like you said you would have. We'd have been happy." "You don't know that. We were so young, Cole, 23 and 21. We didn't know anything about real life, about what it takes to build something that lasts. We would have learned. Or we would have ended up hating each other. Me resenting you for being trapped, you resenting me for trapping you." Cole sat beside her. "Is that what you think would have happened?" "I don't know. Maybe. Probably." She looked at him. "People get married for the wrong reasons all the time. Look at me and Charles. I married him because I was lonely and scared and trying to prove I could move on. And look how that turned out. But you're not marrying me because you're lonely or scared. You're not marrying me at all, actually. You're just giving us a chance to figure out if this is real. And what if it's not? What if we get to Cheyenne and I realize I'm making another mistake? Then we deal with it. We're honest about it. We don't let it drag on for years like you did with Charles." Layla stood up, brushing crumbs from her skirt. "I need to know something." "What? Why now? Why after 7 years are you suddenly willing to fight for me? What changed?" Cole thought about it. He could give her a dozen reasons: maturity, regret, the realization of what he'd lost. But the truth was simpler and harder than that. "I got tired of living half a life," he said. "Tired of going through the motions and pretending I was fine when every day felt like walking through mud. And when I saw you step off that train, it was like someone had turned the lights back on. I could either spend the rest of my life wondering what if, or I could actually do something about it." That's not a very romantic answer. You want romance or you want the truth? I want both. Then here's the romantic part: I love you. I've always loved you. And I'll keep loving you whether you're in Red Hollow or San Francisco or on the damn moon. But I'd rather love you while fighting to be with you than love you while watching you disappear again. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You can't just say things like that. Why does everyone keep telling me that? Because it makes it impossible to think straight." She wiped her eyes roughly. "I came back to Red Hollow to catch a train, Cole. That's all. I wasn't looking for you. I wasn't looking for this." "I know. And now I'm running away with you to Cheyenne to file divorce papers and fight my ex-husband and figure out if we have a future together. Do you understand how insane that sounds? Completely insane. Then why am I doing it?" Cole stood and took her hands. "Because you're tired of living half a life too. Because when you saw me at that train station, you felt it the same thing I felt. That maybe, just maybe, we get one more shot at this. One shot isn't enough. What if we fail? Then at least we'll fail together instead of apart." She laughed through her tears. "That's the worst pep talk I've ever heard. I'm a cowboy, not a poet. No, you're an idiot with a good heart and terrible timing. But I'm your idiot." She punched his arm lightly. "Don't get ahead of yourself, Maverick." They rode through the afternoon, stopping only when the horse needed rest. As evening approached, they reached a small town called Cedar Ridge, barely more than a crossroads with a general store, a saloon, and a boarding house that had seen better days. "We'll stay here tonight," Cole said. "Get a fresh start in the morning." Layla looked around dubiously. "This place makes Red Hollow look like a metropolis." "It's got beds and food. That's all we need." The boarding house proprietor was a weathered woman named Agnes, who took one look at them and raised an eyebrow. "2 rooms or 1? "2," Layla said quickly. Cole pulled out money. "2 rooms, and dinner if you've got it." "Got stew and bread." 5 cents extra. We'll take it. Agnes handed them keys and pointed upstairs. Rooms 4 and 5. Dinner's in an hour. Outhouse is out back. They climbed the narrow stairs. The rooms were small and sparse but clean. Layla's was at the end of the hall, Cole's right next door. She stood in the doorway of hers, looking exhausted. "Thank you," she said, "for getting us out of Red Hollow before Wade showed up. Thank me when we're in Cheyenne with a lawyer who knows what he's doing." "I mean it, Cole. I know this isn't easy for you either. Leaving your ranch, spending money on telegrams and lawyers and— Stop. The ranch will be fine. The money doesn't matter. All that matters is keeping you safe and giving us a real chance." She stepped closer, close enough that he could smell the dust and wind in her hair. "I'm scared." "Me too. What if Charles wins? What if the law sides with him and I have to go back? Then I'll come to St. Louis and break you out." "I'm serious." "So am I." He cupped her face in his hands. "Layla, listen to me. Whatever happens with the lawyer, whatever Charles tries to pull, you are not alone in this. You hear me? You're not alone." She closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. "I want to believe that." "Then believe it." For a moment, he thought she might kiss him. Her breath hitched, her eyes opened and locked on his, and the air between them felt charged with 7 years of want and regret and hope. But then she stepped back, breaking the spell. "I should rest," she said. "Tomorrow's going to be difficult." "Yeah, it will be." She closed the door, and Cole stood there in the hallway, feeling like an idiot for not kissing her when he had the chance. But maybe she was right. Maybe they needed to slow down, take things one step at a time, instead of rushing headlong into something neither of them was ready for. He went to his own room and lay on the narrow bed staring at the ceiling. Through the thin walls he could hear Layla moving around, could hear the creak of her bed as she lay down. He wanted to go to her, wanted to hold her and tell her everything would be all right. But he stayed where he was, giving her the space she needed. Dinner was awkward. They sat across from each other at a long table with 3 other travelers, a merchant heading east, a young couple going west to start a farm, and an old-timer who didn't say a word, just shoveled stew into his mouth like he hadn't eaten in days. "Where you folks headed?" the merchant asked. "Cheyenne," Cole said. "Business or pleasure?" "Business." The merchant looked between Cole and Layla with knowing eyes. "Ah, the legal kind of business, I'm guessing." "Divorce." Layla stiffened. "That's rather personal." "Apologies. Didn't mean to pry." But he smiled like he knew exactly what was going on. "Just seen a lot of folks on this road heading to Cheyenne for the same reason. Territory's got some of the best divorce lawyers in the West. They handle cases from all over." "Is that so?" Layla's voice was tight. "Sure is. Quick, efficient, don't ask too many questions as long as you've got grounds and money." Cole put his hand over Layla's under the table. "We appreciate the information." They finished eating in silence and went back upstairs. At Layla's door, she turned to face him. "Do you think he's right about the lawyers not asking questions? I think Charles is going to fight this every step of the way, and we need to be ready for it. I don't know if I am ready. What if they ask me things I don't want to answer? What if they make me relive everything that happened with Charles, with the baby, with— Then I'll be right there with you. Every step. Every question. You can't be in the lawyer's office with me." "The hell I can't. I'm the one paying for it." She almost smiled. "You're not paying for it. I am. I have money from my mother's inheritance. Once I get it back from Charles. Then we'll both pay for it. Partners." "Partners," she repeated. "Is that what we are? We're whatever you want us to be. Partners, friends, lovers, husband and wife. Don't." She put a hand on his chest. "Don't say husband and wife. Not yet. We're not there." "But we could be?" "Maybe. Someday. If we don't kill each other first." She stood on her toes and kissed his cheek. "Good night, Cole." "Good night, Layla." He went to his room, but didn't sleep. Couldn't. His mind kept racing ahead to tomorrow, to the lawyer's office, to all the ways this could go wrong. Around midnight, he heard a soft knock on his door. He opened it to find Layla standing there in her nightgown, hair loose around her shoulders, eyes red like she'd been crying. "I can't sleep," she said. "Me neither." "Can I come in?" He stepped aside. She walked past him and sat on the edge of his bed, hands clasped in her lap. Cole closed the door and leaned against it, giving her space. "I keep thinking about the baby," she said. "About how different things would have been if I hadn't lost it. We'd have a 6-year-old now, a little boy or girl running around asking questions, causing trouble. I think about that too. Do you hate me for not telling you? What? No, God, no. I hate me for it. I hate that I was so stubborn and proud that I'd rather go through it alone than risk you marrying me out of obligation." She looked up at him with devastated eyes. "And the worst part is, I still don't know if I made the right choice. Because if I had told you, maybe we would have been happy. Or maybe we would have destroyed each other." Cole crossed the room and knelt in front of her. "You didn't make the wrong choice. You made the only choice you could with the information you had. I was a coward back then, Layla. You knew it. I knew it. Everyone in Red Hollow knew it. And you were smart enough to know that building a life with someone who was too scared to fight for you would have ended in disaster. Then why does it hurt so much? Because losing a child always hurts. Because wondering what might have been always hurts." He took her hands. "But we can't change the past. All we can do is decide what happens next." She pulled him up to sit beside her on the bed. They sat there in silence, shoulders touching, breathing in sync. Finally she spoke. "What if I can't do this? What if I get to Cheyenne and I freeze up or fall apart or... Then I'll be there to catch you. I'll hold you together until you can hold yourself together." You make it sound so simple. It is simple. Loving someone, fighting for them, it's the simplest thing in the world. It's all the other stuff that's complicated. Layla leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'm so tired, Cole. Tired of running. Tired of fighting. Tired of trying to figure out what the right thing to do is." "Then stop trying to figure it out and just feel it. What does your gut tell you? That I should stay with you, that I should let you fight for me and fight with you and see where this goes." She lifted her head to look at him. "But my gut's been wrong before. So has mine. Doesn't mean we stop listening to it. I'm scared I'm going to wake up one day and realize I made another mistake, that I chose wrong again. Or you'll wake up one day and realize you chose right, that you chose someone who actually deserves you this time." She laughed softly. "Your confidence is unnerving. It's not confidence, it's faith. In you, in us, in the possibility that sometimes people get second chances and actually manage not to screw them up." Layla turned to face him fully. "If we do this, if we really try to make this work, I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll tell me the truth. Even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. No more silence. No more holding back because you're scared of how I'll react. I promise. And if it doesn't work out, if we try and fail, promise me you won't hate me for it. I could never hate you. Promise anyway. I promise." She kissed him, then soft and tentative at first, like she was testing whether this was real or just another dream that would dissolve in the morning light. But Cole kissed her back with everything he'd been holding in for 7 years, and suddenly, soft turned desperate and tentative, turned certain. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Layla pressed her forehead against his. "This doesn't solve anything," she whispered. "I know. We still have to go to Cheyenne, still have to deal with Charles and the lawyers and everything else. I know that too. But right now, in this moment, I don't want to think about any of it. I just want this." Cole pulled her closer. "Then take it. Take whatever you need from me, Layla. I'm not going anywhere." She stayed with him that night, curled against his chest, while he held her and listened to her breathe. They didn't make love. It didn't feel right, not yet, not with so much still unresolved between them. But they held each other like drowning people hold onto lifelines. And when morning came, neither of them had any regrets. They left Cedar Ridge before sunrise, both moving quietly around each other, like they were afraid to break whatever fragile peace they'd found in the darkness. Layla's hair was still loose when she came down to meet him, and Cole wanted to tell her she looked beautiful, but didn't trust his voice not to crack. "Ready," he asked instead. "As I'll ever be." The ride to Cheyenne took most of the morning. They pushed hard, stopping only once to water the horse and eat the bread Agnes had wrapped for them. Layla sat straighter in the saddle, now less tense, and when Cole's arm tightened around her waist at a rough patch in the road, she leaned back into him instead of pulling away. "What are you going to say to the lawyer?" she asked as the buildings of Cheyenne started appearing on the horizon. "The truth. That Charles is a lying bastard who stole your money and cheated on you and you want out. They're going to ask about us, about you. Let them ask. And what will you say?" Cole thought about it. "That I love you, that I've loved you for 7 years, that I'm trying to do right by you this time. That's going to make it complicated. Charles will use it against me, say I abandoned him for another man." "Did you?" "No. I left him because he was sleeping with his secretary and stealing from me. You just happened to be here when I came back." Then that's what we tell them. Cheyenne was bigger than Red Hollow by a considerable margin. 2 main streets instead of 1, actual brick buildings instead of just wooden storefronts, and enough people that you could walk down the sidewalk without everyone knowing your business. Cole found the address Tommy had given him, Dixon and Associates, 2nd floor above the bank. He helped Layla down and tied the horse to the hitching post. She smoothed her skirt, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, took a deep breath. "I look terrible," she said. 2 days on horseback, sleeping in my clothes. You look fine. I look like exactly what Charles will say I am, a woman who ran off with a cowboy. You look like a woman who's fighting for her freedom. There's a difference." She met his eyes. "What if they won't help us? Then we find someone who will." They climbed the narrow stairs. The office was small, but neat, 2 desks, filing cabinets lining the walls, and a thin man in spectacles sitting behind one of the desks, scratching away at paperwork. He looked up when they entered. "Help you? We're here to see Mr. Dixon. We sent a telegram yesterday." The man's expression shifted from bored to interested. "Ah, yes. The urgent divorce case. I'm Samuel Dixon." He stood and offered his hand. "And you must be Mrs. Bennett." Layla shook his hand. "Miss Bennett, or will be once this is finalized." "And you are?" Dixon looked at Cole. "Cole Maverick. I'm the companion mentioned in the telegram. I see." Dixon gestured to 2 chairs across from his desk. "Please sit. Tell me everything." For the next hour, Layla laid it all out. The marriage to Charles, the discovery of his affair, the money he'd stolen from her inheritance, her decision to leave. She was clinical about it, almost detached, like she was talking about someone else's life. But Cole could see her hands shaking in her lap. Dixon took notes, asked pointed questions, nodded occasionally. When Layla finished, he sat back and steepled his fingers. "This is a strong case. Adultery and theft are both valid grounds for divorce in this territory. However, there are complications." "What kind of complications?" Cole asked. "Mr. Bennett, if he's as vindictive as you say, will almost certainly contest the divorce. He'll claim abandonment on your part, Mrs. Bennett. He'll argue that you left the marital home without cause, and he'll use Mr. Maverick's presence to suggest impropriety." "But she had cause," Cole said. "He was stealing from her." "Can you prove it? Do you have bank records, signed documents? Anything showing he took money without her permission?" Layla's face fell. "I have letters from the bank. But Charles handled all our finances. He said it was a husband's duty. Those letters will help, but they may not be enough. What we need is hard evidence. Bank statements, transfer records, Something concrete that shows he moved funds from your account to his without authorization. I don't have those things. They're all in St. Louis in his house. Dixon nodded slowly. Then we have a problem. Without documentation, it becomes your word against his, and unfortunately the law tends to favor the husband in these situations. The words hit Cole like a punch. So what are you saying? She's just supposed to go back to him. I'm saying we need a different strategy. Mrs. Bennett, were there any witnesses to his affair? Anyone who can testify that they saw him with this other woman? Half of St. Louis society saw them together. But they'll never testify. Charles has too much influence. What about the woman herself? Would she testify? Layla laughed bitterly. She's probably warming his bed right now. Why would she help me? Dixon tapped his pen against his desk. Perhaps because she has as much to lose as you do. If Charles married you under false pretenses, engaged in fraud, there's a chance he could face criminal charges. That might make her vulnerable too, depending on her involvement. She wasn't involved in the money part. She was just... Layla's voice cracked. She was just the woman he wanted instead of me. Cole put his hand over hers. What are our options here, really? Dixon sighed. File for divorce on grounds of adultery and theft. Hope that Mr. Bennett doesn't contest it, or that the judge is sympathetic. It could take months, maybe longer, and there's no guarantee you'll win. And if Charles shows up here, if he tries to force her back to St. Louis, if he has a court order stating she's his legal wife and he has authority over her, there's not much you can do. He'd be within his rights. Cole felt rage boiling in his gut. So the law's just going to let him drag her back like property. The law views marriage as a binding contract. Breaking that contract requires cause, and cause requires proof. Layla stood abruptly. Thank you for your time, Mr. Dixon. I understand the situation. Mrs. Bennett, please. It's fine. You've been very clear. She walked to the door, back rigid. Cole followed her out. They made it halfway down the stairs before she stopped gripping the railing, shoulders shaking. Layla. Don't tell me it's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. We'll find another lawyer. Someone who's willing to fight harder. You heard him, Cole. Without proof, I don't have a case. And I can't get proof without going back to St. Louis. And if I go back, Charles will never let me leave again. Then we don't go back. We stay here, build a life, and let him try to find us. She turned to face him, eyes blazing. That's not a life. That's running, and I'm so damn tired of running. What do you want to do? I want to fight. I want to stand up in front of a judge and tell them exactly what kind of man Charles Bennett is. But I can't do that without evidence, and I don't have any. Cole's mind raced. There had to be a way. Had to be something they could do that didn't involve Layla going back to that house, to that man who'd hurt her. What if we got the evidence for you? How break into his house and steal his files? If that's what it takes. Cole, that's insane. And illegal. So is what he did to you. Two wrongs don't make a right. Maybe not, but sometimes you have to bend the rules to get justice. Layla shook her head. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. And if you get caught, if you end up in jail because of me, then at least I'll know I tried. She grabbed his face in both hands. Listen to me. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I won't let you throw your life away for some papers that might not even exist. Charles is smart. He probably destroyed anything incriminating. Or he kept it because he's arrogant enough to think no one would dare challenge him. Cole pulled her hands down but didn't let go. We have to try something, Layla. We can't just give up. I'm not giving up. I'm being realistic. They stood there in the stairwell at an impasse. Finally, Cole said, Let's go back to Dixon. Tell him we need time to think about our options. Maybe there's something we're missing. Like what? I don't know yet. But we didn't come all this way to walk away empty-handed. They climbed back up the stairs. Dixon looked surprised to see them. I thought you'd left. We need more time to discuss this, Cole said. Can we meet again tomorrow? Of course. But I should warn you, every day you delay gives Mr. Bennett more opportunity to build his own case. What kind of case? Layla asked. Abandonment, mental instability, anything that paints you as an unfit wife who left without cause. If he files first, you'll be on the defensive. Then I'll file first, today, right now. Dixon pulled out a form. I'll need you to sign here stating your grounds for divorce and your desire to dissolve the marriage. Once this is filed, it becomes public record. Mr. Bennett will be notified. Layla took the pen. Her hand hovered over the paper. Once you sign this, there's no going back, Dixon said quietly. He'll know where you are. He'll know what you're trying to do. Good. Let him know. She signed her name with a flourish. I'm done hiding. Dixon witnessed the signature and filed the papers in his cabinet. This will be processed tomorrow. Mr. Bennett will receive notice within the week. And then what? Cole asked. Then we wait for his response. If he contests, we go to court. If he doesn't, the divorce proceeds relatively smoothly. He'll contest, Layla said with certainty. He's too proud not to. They left the office feeling both lighter and heavier. Lighter because the first step was taken, heavier because they both knew the hardest parts were still ahead. Where do we stay tonight? Layla asked as they walked down the street. There's a hotel on Main. Supposed to be decent. 2 rooms again? Cole looked at her. Is that what you want? I don't know what I want anymore. Everything's so complicated. Then let's uncomplicate it, just for tonight. We'll get 2 rooms, have a proper meal, sleep in real beds. Tomorrow we can figure out the next step. The hotel was nicer than the boarding house in Cedar Ridge. Actual beds with clean sheets, a dining room that served more than just stew, even a bathing room where guests could wash up for a small fee. Cole got them adjoining rooms and immediately regretted it when the clerk gave him a knowing look. Adjoining, huh? Convenient. It's not like that, Cole said. Sure it isn't. The clerk handed over the keys. Room 7 and 8, top floor. Layla was already heading up the stairs, exhausted from the day's events. Cole followed with their bags. At her door, she turned to face him. Thank you. For coming with me, for standing up to Dixon, for everything. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do, because you didn't have to do any of this. You could have let me get on that train and disappear, but you didn't. Couldn't. She smiled faintly. Couldn't or wouldn't? Both. She unlocked her door, then paused. Cole. What you said earlier about getting the evidence from St. Louis, did you mean it? Every word. It's a terrible idea. I know. Dangerous and probably illegal. Yep. But it might be the only way. Cole's heart started pounding. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying we need to think about it. Really think about it. Because if we do this, we're crossing a line. And there's no coming back from that. I crossed a line 7 years ago when I let you leave. Everything since then has just been trying to make it right. She reached up and touched his cheek. You're a good man, Cole Maverick. Better than I deserve. You deserve better than all of us. Then help me get it. Help me fight for the life I actually want instead of the one everyone else says I should have. What life is that? I don't know yet, but I think it starts with being free from Charles. She went into her room and closed the door. Cole stood there for a long moment, mind spinning. Going to St. Louis was crazy. Breaking into Charles's house was crazier. But if that's what it took to give Layla the ammunition she needed, he'd do it in a heartbeat. He went to his own room and lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. Through the adjoining wall, he could hear Layla moving around, could hear water being poured, could hear her humming softly to herself. It was such a domestic sound, such a normal sound, and it made him ache for all the years they could have had. A knock on the adjoining door startled him. He opened it to find Layla standing there in a clean dress, her hair brushed and pinned up. I can't stop thinking, she said. Me neither. Can we talk? Really talk without lawyers or Charles or any of it hanging over us? Yeah, come in. She sat on the edge of his bed while he took the chair by the window. For a minute, neither of them spoke. Then Layla said, "Tell me about the last 7 years. What you did, who you became when I wasn't there to see it." Cole ran a hand through his hair. "Worked mostly. Built up the ranch, bought some cattle, made enough money to get by. Didn't do much else." "No other women?" "A few. Nothing that stuck." "Why not?" "Because they weren't you." Layla's eyes glistened. "That's not fair. You can't just say things like that and expect me to hold myself together." "You asked." "I know I did. And I hate that the answer makes me happy when it shouldn't. You should have found someone else, Cole. Someone who was actually there." "Tried to. Couldn't make it work." "What about the saloon girl, Mary Ellen?" Cole's eyebrows shot up. "How did you know about Mary Ellen?" "Small towns talk. Even all the way in St. Louis I heard things." "There was nothing with Mary Ellen. We had dinner a few times, that's all." "She wanted more." "Probably, but I didn't." "Because of me." "Because I was still in love with you, yeah." Layla stood and walked to the window, looking out at the street below. "I tried to hate you. When things got bad with Charles, when I was alone in that house, wondering why I'd ever thought marriage to a man I didn't love could fix anything, I tried to hate you for not fighting for me, for not giving me a reason to stay. Did it work? No. Which made it worse." She turned to face him. "I wanted to hate you because hate would have been easier than love. Hate would have let me move on. But I couldn't. And every time I tried to picture my life without you in it somewhere, even just as a memory, I couldn't breathe." Cole stood and crossed to her. "I'm sorry I put you through that. Don't apologize. Just don't let me go through it again." "I won't. Promise me. Whatever happens with Charles, whatever the lawyers say, whatever obstacles come up, promise me you won't give up on us." "I promise." She kissed him, then hard and desperate, like she was trying to pour 7 years of longing into a single moment. Cole kissed her back with everything he had. His hands in her hair, her body pressed against his, both of them breathing hard and fast. When they finally broke apart, Layla was crying. "What's wrong?" Cole asked. "Nothing. Everything. I don't know." She wiped her eyes. "I'm just so tired of being strong all the time. Tired of pretending I have all the answers when I don't have any." "Then stop pretending. Lean on me. That's what I'm here for." "I don't know how. I've been taking care of myself for so long, I forgot what it's like to let someone else help." "Then learn again. We'll figure it out together." A knock on the door interrupted them. Cole opened it to find a telegram delivery boy standing in the hallway. "Mr. Maverick, urgent telegram from Red Hollow." Cole's stomach dropped. He took the telegram and tipped the boy. When he unfolded it, the words hit him like a fist. "Sheriff Wade arrested your ranch hand Tom for aiding fugitive. Charles Bennett filed charges. Return immediately or face warrant yourself." Layla read over his shoulder. "Oh God, Tom, I forgot about Tom. He didn't do anything. He was just watching the place while I was gone." "Charles doesn't care about that. He's using him to get to us." Cole crumpled the telegram. "That son of a bitch. You have to go back. I'm not leaving you. Cole, if you don't go back, they'll issue a warrant. You'll be a fugitive." "I don't care." "Yes, you do, and so do I." Layla grabbed his arms. "Tom doesn't deserve to be caught up in our mess. He's a good man who is doing you a favor." "So I'm supposed to just abandon you here?" "You're not abandoning me. You're going back to fix something Charles broke, and I'll be fine here." "The hell you will. He knows you're in Cheyenne now. He'll come after you." "Let him come. The divorce papers are filed. I've got a lawyer. I'm not defenseless." Cole shook his head. "This is exactly what he wants. To split us up, make us vulnerable. Then we don't let him. You go back, get Tom out of jail, deal with whatever charges Charles trumped up. I'll stay here and work with Dixon on the case. We'll meet back in Red Hollow in a few days." "I don't like this." "Neither do I. But we don't have a choice." Cole knew she was right, but every fiber of his being screamed against leaving her here alone. He pulled her close, breathing in the scent of her hair. "If anything happens to you..." "Nothing's going to happen. I'll be fine. Promise me you'll be careful. Don't go anywhere alone. Don't talk to Charles if he shows up. Don't..." "Cole, I survived 7 years without you. I can survive a few days." "That's not the same, and you know it." She pulled back to look at him. "Then come back fast, because I don't want to survive anymore. I want to live, and I can't do that without you." He kissed her one more time, trying to memorize the feel of her lips, the warmth of her body against his. Then he forced himself to step away. "I'll leave at first light. You stay here, work with Dixon, and don't do anything stupid." "Same to you." "I mean it, Layla. If Charles shows up, I'll handle it. I'm done being afraid of him." Cole wanted to argue, wanted to lock her in this room and never let her face the world alone again. But he knew she needed this, needed to prove to herself that she could stand on her own 2 feet. So he nodded and went to pack his things. That night, Layla stayed in his room. They didn't make love, didn't even kiss again. They just held each other in the darkness, both knowing that tomorrow they'd be separated again, both terrified of what that might mean. "Cole," Layla whispered in the early hours before dawn. "Yeah. When this is all over, when Charles is gone and the divorce is final, and we're free, what happens then? Then we build the life we should have had 7 years ago. And if it's not as perfect as we imagined, then we'll build it anyway, together." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "I love you. I should have said it before, but I'm saying it now. I love you, Cole Maverick. I always have." "I love you too. More than I've got words for." "Why?" When morning came, they held on to each other a little too long at the hotel door. Finally, Cole forced himself to let go. "I'll be back in 3 days, 4 at most. I'll be waiting." He rode out of Cheyenne as the sun rose, looking back only once to see Layla standing at the hotel window watching him go. And for the second time in his life, Cole Maverick left the woman he loved behind, except this time he was coming back. Cole rode hard for 2 days straight, stopping only when the horse needed rest. Every mile felt like betrayal, leaving Layla in Cheyenne while he dealt with Charles's latest manipulation. But Tom didn't deserve to rot in jail because Cole had finally found the courage to fight for something. Red Hollow looked exactly the same when he rode in same dusty streets, same weathered buildings, same group of old-timers sitting outside the general store watching the world go by. But everything felt different now. This wasn't home anymore. Home was wherever Layla was. The sheriff's office sat at the end of Main Street. Cole tied his horse and walked in to find Wade sitting behind his desk reading a newspaper like he hadn't just arrested an innocent man. "Maverick, figured you'd show up eventually. Where's Tom?" Wade folded his newspaper. "In the back. Been here 3 days on account of you running off with another man's wife." "She's not his wife. Not anymore. The divorce papers are filed." "Filed doesn't mean final. Far as the law's concerned, she's still Mrs. Charles Bennett, and you helped her run away from her legal husband. I helped her escape from a man who was stealing from her and sleeping around on her. There's a difference. Not according to the warrant Mr. Bennett had issued." Wade pulled out a document. "Says here you aided and abetted a fugitive spouse, interfered with marital rights, and corrupted the morals of a married woman." Cole's hands clenched into fists. "That's complete horseshit, and you know it." "What I know is Mr. Bennett has connections in Cheyenne friends in territorial government, and enough money to make my life very difficult if I don't follow the letter of the law. So you're just going to let him use you as his personal attack dog?" Wade's expression hardened. "Watch yourself, Maverick. I could throw you in that cell right next to Tom and let Bennett sort it out when he gets here. When he gets here, he's coming here. Should be arriving any time now. Said he wants to handle this personally." Cole felt ice slide down his spine. "Handle what?" "Taking his wife back to St. Louis where she belongs. Over my dead body. That can be arranged too. Wade stood up. Look, I don't like this any more than you do. But Bennett's got the law on his side, and I've got a job to keep. So unless you've got something that proves she's got legitimate grounds for divorce, actual proof, not just her word against his, I can't help you. Cole thought fast. What if I did have proof? What kind of proof? Bank records showing he stole her inheritance. Witness testimony about his affair. Everything a judge would need to dissolve the marriage. Wade's eyebrows rose. You got all that? Not yet, but I can get it. How? Does it matter? It does if you're planning on breaking the law to get it. Cole leaned forward. What if I told you Charles Bennett is the one who broke the law, that he's been embezzling funds, committing fraud using his position to cover up criminal activity? I'd say you better be damn sure before you make accusations like that. I am sure, and I can prove it if you give me 48 hours. Wade sat back down. I can't hold Tom that long without charges. Then don't charge him. Let him go. He didn't do anything except watch my ranch while I was gone. And you? What about the warrant? I'll turn myself in after I get the proof. You have my word. Wade studied him for a long moment. Your word isn't worth much if you're planning on running. I'm not running. I'm fighting. There's a difference. The door burst open. Charles Bennett strode in like he owned the place, dressed in an expensive suit that probably cost more than Cole made in 6 months. He looked at Cole with pure hatred. Well, well, the cowboy returns. Charles, Cole's voice was flat. Where is she? Who? Don't play stupid with me, Maverick. Where's my wife? Your wife filed for divorce 3 days ago in Cheyenne, so technically she's not your wife anymore. Charles's face went red. Filing doesn't mean granted. She's still legally bound to me, and I'm taking her home. She doesn't want to go home with you. I don't particularly care what she wants. She made vows, and she's going to honor them. Cole stepped forward. The only thing she's going to honor is her own freedom. And if you try to take her anywhere she doesn't want to go, you'll have to go through me. Gentlemen. Wade held up a hand. Let's all calm down. I'm perfectly calm, Charles said. I'm simply exercising my legal rights as a husband to retrieve my property. She's not property, Cole said through gritted teeth. In the eyes of the law, she might as well be. Her money is my money. Her choices are my choices. And right now I'm choosing to take her back to St. Louis and forget this whole sordid affair ever happened. What about your affair with your secretary? You going to forget about that too? Charles's eyes narrowed. Layla's been telling stories, I see. How predictable. They're not stories. They're facts. Prove it. I will. With what? Her word against mine. Charles laughed. No judge in Missouri is going to side with a hysterical woman over a respected businessman, especially when that woman ran off with her former lover and has been living in sin for the past week. We haven't been... Cole started, but Charles cut him off. Doesn't matter what you have or haven't done. What matters is what it looks like. And it looks like my wife abandoned our marriage for a penniless cowboy, which reflects very poorly on her character. Wade cleared his throat. Mr. Bennett, much as I'd like to help you, I can't force Mrs. Bennett to return to St. Louis if she doesn't want to go. Then arrest her for abandonment. Arrest him for kidnapping. I don't care how you do it, just do it. I can't arrest someone for leaving their husband. You arrested his ranch hand easily enough. That was different. He was interfering with an active investigation. What investigation? Cole demanded. Wade shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Bennett filed a complaint about missing funds from his household accounts. Said Tom might have been involved in helping you steal from him. Cole almost laughed. That's rich. Charles is the one who's been stealing, and he's trying to pin it on Tom. Do you have proof of that? Wade asked. Not yet. Then it's his word against yours. And right now, his word carries more weight. Charles smiled. See how this works, Maverick. You can't beat me. I have lawyers' connections money. What do you have? a failing ranch, and a woman who's going to realize she made a terrible mistake. Cole wanted to hit him, wanted to wipe that smug smile off his face and show him exactly what a cowboy could do when pushed too far. But he held himself back because Layla needed him thinking clearly, not sitting in a jail cell for assault. "Where is she?" Charles asked again. "Tell me now, and I'll consider dropping the charges against your ranch hand." "She's safe. That's all you need to know." "Safe from what?" "From me. I'm her husband." "You're a thief and a liar, and when we get into that courtroom, everyone's going to know it." Charles's expression turned cold. "You really think you can win this a dirt-poor cowboy against someone like me? I'll destroy you. I'll destroy her. I'll make sure neither of you ever has a moment's peace for the rest of your miserable lives." "You can try." "Oh, I'll do more than try." Charles turned to Wade. "I want him arrested. Now. Kidnapping, theft, interference with marital rights, I don't care what you charge him with. Just lock him up." Wade looked torn. "Mr. Bennett, I'm prepared to make a significant donation to the Territorial Police Fund if you cooperate. Let's say $5,000. Wade's face went pale. $5,000 was more than he'd make in 5 years as sheriff. "That's bribery," Cole said. "That's civic investment," Charles corrected. "And perfectly legal." Wade stood slowly. "Mr. Maverick, I'm going to have to ask you to step into the cell." "You can't be serious." "I'm sorry, but—" The door opened again. This time it was Layla who walked in, and the sight of her took Cole's breath away. She stood there in the same blue dress she'd worn on the train, hair pinned up, eyes blazing with fury. "Don't you dare arrest him," she said. Charles spun around. "Layla, thank God. I've been so worried." "Save it, Charles. I know exactly what you're doing, and it's not going to work." "Darling, you're clearly upset. Let me take you home where we can discuss this rationally. I'm not going anywhere with you, and I'm not upset. I'm done." "Done with what?" "With you. With this marriage. With pretending any of it ever meant anything." Charles's mask slipped for just a second. "You don't mean that." "I absolutely mean it. I filed for divorce 3 days ago. My lawyer in Cheyenne has all the paperwork. It's over, Charles." "It's not over until a judge says it's over." "Then we'll go to court. And when we do, I'll tell them everything. The affairs, the stolen money, the way you treated me like a piece of furniture, you could ignore when it suited you." "You have no proof of any of that." Layla pulled an envelope from her bag. "Actually, I do. Your secretary, former secretary, sent me these. Bank statements, transfer records, letters you wrote to her detailing exactly how you planned to hide my inheritance from me. She was quite helpful once I explained that you'd been planning to throw her aside once you got me back." Charles's face went white. "That's forgery." "No, that's evidence. And there's more where this came from. Witnesses who saw you with her, hotel staff who can testify about your frequent visits, even your business partner who's willing to admit you falsified documents." "You're bluffing." "Try me." The silence that followed was deafening. Charles looked at Layla like he was seeing her for the first time, really seeing her, not just the compliant wife he'd expected her to be. When did you... "I spent the last 3 days in Cheyenne making phone calls and sending telegrams. Turns out your secretary wasn't the only one you lied to. A lot of people are very interested in testifying against you, Charles, and they're willing to do it for free." Cole felt a surge of pride so strong it nearly knocked him over. This was the Layla he'd fallen in love with, fierce and unafraid, and absolutely refusing to back down. Charles recovered quickly. "None of that will matter in court. You're still my wife, and the law. The law says I have grounds for divorce based on adultery and theft, which means everything you did to me, everything you took from me, it all comes back, including my mother's inheritance. I invested that money. You stole that money, and now I want it back, all of it, plus damages for emotional distress." Charles laughed, but it sounded hollow. "You can't be serious." I've never been more serious in my life. Wade cleared his throat. Mr. Bennett, it seems like this is a matter for the courts, not my jail. What about the charges against Maverick? What charges? You said he kidnapped your wife, but your wife is standing right here saying she went with him willingly. Unless you've got actual evidence of a crime, I can't hold him. Charles looked like he wanted to explode. This is ridiculous. You can't just... I can and I am. Now, unless you've got business here that doesn't involve false accusations and attempted bribery, I suggest you leave my office. You'll regret this. Maybe, but at least I'll be able to sleep at night. Charles turned to Layla one last time. You're making a mistake. That cowboy can't give you the life I can. In 6 months you'll be crawling back to me, and I won't be so forgiving. I'd rather die alone than spend another minute pretending to be happy with you. We'll see about that. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Cole immediately went to Layla. Are you okay? I'm better than okay. I'm free. How did you get here so fast? I took the train this morning. Couldn't sleep knowing you were dealing with this alone. She held up the envelope. And I couldn't wait to see the look on his face when I showed him these. Wade coughed. I hate to interrupt, but can someone tell me what just happened? Layla smiled. Charles Bennett tried to control his wife one too many times, and his wife decided she'd had enough. And those documents you mentioned? Real, every single one. His secretary was very thorough in her record-keeping. Apparently she thought Charles was going to leave me and marry her. When she realized he was just using her, she decided to help me instead. Hell hath no fury, Wade muttered. Exactly. Layla turned to Cole. Can we get Tom out now? Right, Tom. Cole had almost forgotten why he'd come back in the first place. Wade, you going to release him or what? Wade unlocked the cell door. Tom emerged looking rumpled and angry. About damn time. 3 days I've been sitting in here for doing absolutely nothing. I'm sorry, Tom. Charles was using you to get to me. Yeah, well, Charles can go straight to hell. Tom looked at Layla. Begging your pardon, ma'am? No pardon necessary. I've been thinking the same thing. They walked out of the sheriff's office into the afternoon sun. Cole kept his arm around Layla like he was afraid she'd disappear if he let go. I can't believe you got his secretary to turn on him, he said. I can be very persuasive when I need to be. And she was already halfway to hating him. I just gave her a reason to make it official. What happens now with the divorce? Dixon says it'll take a few months to finalize, but with the evidence I have, Charles won't be able to contest it. He'll try, of course, but he won't win. And the money? That'll take longer. But Dixon's confident we can get most of it back. Maybe not all, but enough that I can start over properly. Cole stopped walking and turned to face her. Start over where? Layla looked up at him. I was hoping you'd have some suggestions about that. I've got a ranch. It's not much, but it's mine, and there's room for 2 if you're interested. Room for 2? She repeated. Just 2. Well, maybe more eventually, if things work out. She smiled. Define eventually. However long it takes for you to realize you're stuck with me now. I realized that 7 years ago. Just took me a while to admit it. Tom cleared his throat. Much as I hate to interrupt whatever this is, I'm going to head back to the ranch and pretend I don't know anything about anything. Tom, wait. Layla stepped forward. I'm sorry you got caught up in our mess. Charles had no right to use you like that. Water under the bridge, ma'am. Just glad to see you both standing up to that bastard. He tipped his hat and walked away. Cole and Layla stood there on the street, both suddenly aware that everyone in Red Hollow was watching them. Mrs. Henderson was staring from the general store. The saloon girls were whispering on the porch. Even Old Man Hendricks had stopped sweeping to see what would happen next. We're going to be the talk of this town for years, Layla said. You okay with that? Honestly, I don't care. Let them talk. I spent 7 years caring what people thought, and it didn't get me anywhere good. So, what do you want to do now? Layla looked at the train station, then back at Cole. I want to go to your ranch. I want to see this life you built while I was gone. And then I want to start building the life we should have had from the beginning. Just like that. Just like that. What about San Francisco? Those job opportunities. San Francisco can wait. Or maybe it'll never happen. I don't know yet. But I know I want to be here. With you. Wherever that leads. Cole felt something loosen in his chest, 7 years of regret and fear, and wondering finally letting go. It might not be easy. The divorce, the gossip, figuring out how to be together after all this time. I don't need easy. I just need honest. She took his hand. Can you give me that? Every day for the rest of my life. Then that's enough. They walked to where Cole's horse was tied, both of them quiet, but not uncomfortable. When they reached the animal, Cole helped Layla up into the saddle and swung up behind her. She leaned back against him, and he wrapped his arm around her waist. Cole. Yeah. That thing you said about room for two. Maybe more eventually. What about it? How would you feel about eventually being sooner rather than later? His heart stuttered. How soon are we talking? I don't know. A year. 2. However long it takes to make sure we're doing this for the right reasons. The right reasons being love, partnership, building something that lasts instead of something that just looks good from the outside. Cole pressed a kiss to her temple. I can work with that. They rode out of Red Hollow together, leaving behind the whispers and the judgment and the ghost of who they used to be. The ranch appeared on the horizon, just as the sun started to set, modest but solid, a place that could become a home if they wanted it to. It's not much, Cole said as they approached. It's perfect. He helped her down, and they stood there, looking at the house, both thinking about all the moments that led them here. The train station 7 years ago, the baby they lost, the marriages that failed, the loneliness and regret, and stubborn hope that kept them circling back to each other. You know what the hardest part is going to be? Layla asked. What? Trusting that this is real. That we're not going to wake up tomorrow and realize we made another mistake. It's real. You want to know how I know? How? Because it hurts too much to be anything else. Real love doesn't feel easy or comfortable. It feels like standing on the edge of a cliff, wondering if you're brave enough to jump. Layla turned to face him. And are you brave enough? With you. Yeah, I am. She kissed him, then not desperate like before, but steady and sure, like a promise being made. When they pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. I'm going to mess this up sometimes, she said. I'm going to get scared and pull away and forget how to trust. And I'm going to be stubborn and proud and probably say the wrong thing at exactly the wrong time. So we're both going to be disasters. Probably. But we're going to be disasters together. That's the plan. They stood there as darkness fell, holding each other under a sky full of stars, both finally understanding that love wasn't about perfect timing or perfect circumstances. It was about choosing each other even when it was hard, even when it hurt, even when every logical part of your brain said to run the other way. And for the first time in 7 years, neither of them was running. 6 months later, the divorce was final. Charles didn't show up to the hearing, sent his lawyers instead, who negotiated a settlement that gave Layla back most of her inheritance and allowed both parties to walk away with their dignity intact. She used part of the money to invest in Cole's ranch, turning it from a modest operation into something that could actually support a family. A year after that, they got married at the same church where Layla's father used to drag her every Sunday. It was a small ceremony, just Tom, Mrs. Patterson, Old Man Hendricks, and a few others who'd watched their story unfold with varying degrees of approval. Layla wore the blue dress she'd been wearing when she stepped off the train, because Cole said it reminded him of the moment he decided to fight for her. They built a life. Not a perfect one, but an honest one. They fought sometimes, usually about stupid things, like whether to expand the cattle operation or stick with what they had. They made up in the barn and the kitchen under the cottonwood trees by the river. They learned each other's rhythms and habits, and the thousand small compromises that make a marriage work. And when Layla told Cole she was pregnant 2 years into their marriage, he held her and cried and promised he'd be there for every single moment this time. He kept that promise. Was there when their daughter was born there for the sleepless nights and the first words and the first steps? Was there when their son came along 2 years later, and then another daughter after that? The kids grew up hearing the story of how their parents met, how they lost each other, and how they found each other again at a train station in Red Hollow. They heard about the cowboy who was too scared to fight for love, and the woman who was brave enough to leave until he learned how. And they heard about the second chance that almost didn't happen, and how their parents grabbed it with both hands and refused to let go. Because some things are worth waiting for, but only if you're brave enough not to let them slip away twice.